We all think we know the story of the werewolf. But today, we're diving deep into the history of a real person, Peter Stump, the so-called Beast of Bedburg. And what we're going to uncover is a version of his story that's been buried for centuries. One that suggests the legend we all know might just be a lie, created to hide a much darker and frankly, much stranger alchemical truth. So let's just get right to it. What if that story, the one about the farmer and the magic belt, what if it was all just a cover-up? A simplified fairy tale meant to conceal a horrifying truth about alchemy, demonic power, and a forgotten kind of magic. All right, so before we can tear the old story down, we gotta know what it is, right? This is the official version, the legend of Peter Stump that's been passed down for generations. Picture this, it's the 16th century Germany. The whole region is basically tearing itself apart with religious wars. And in all this chaos, you've got this farmer with a missing hand, which earned him the nickname Stump, who starts a reign of terror that's going to last for 25 years. Yeah, it's a super simple, terrifying story, right? A desperate man, a deal with the devil, and a magic belt that turns him into a monster. It's the perfect spooky story to tell your kids. But, and this is a big but, according to our sources, that's not even close to what really went down. The truth is way more complex. Okay, so this is where the fairy tale ends and things get, well, a whole lot weirder. The real source of Stump's power? It wasn't some simple piece of leather. It was something far more sophisticated, almost scientific in a twisted sort of way. And this slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. On one side, you have the legend, a magic belt. Easy. But on the other, you have the so-called truth, this shimmering, unstable alchemical serum, a gift from the demon Mephistopheles himself. You gotta understand, this wasn't just a cursed trinket. It was like demonic biotechnology, designed to literally rewrite his DNA. And this stuff was no joke. We're talking about a volatile cocktail of dark magic, super concentrated wolfsbane, and all these forbidden alchemical compounds. But the real kicker? The key ingredient was something the source calls latent magical potential. Basically, a power that was already inside Stump, just dormant, waiting for something to flip the switch. So the serum wasn't just a one-and-done deal that turned him into a wolf. Think of it more like a direct pipeline to the demonic realm. It was engineered to be a conduit, a channel for Mephistopheles' own power to flow right into Stump. He wasn't just putting on a wolf costume, he was becoming a true hybrid, part man, part demon, and part beast. And this, right here, is where the story takes another wild turn. See, Stump wasn't just some mindless animal. That latent magical potential we just talked about, it unlocked something else entirely. He didn't just become a werewolf. He became a sorcerer. Man, I just love this quote from the source material. It's so incredibly cool. He wasn't just an animal. He was a werewolfer who wielded the primal witchcraft of the earth and the cold, abstract rune magic of the stars. I mean, come on. He's commanding two completely different kinds of magic, this raw, earthy power and this cosmic, complex magic channeled through runes. So, how did he do it? How did he tap into all this power? Well, Mephistopheles didn't just give him the juice, he gave him the instruction manual, too. Stump would literally carve these powerful ancient runes right into his own skin, or onto things around him, basically turning them into magical weapons to cast spells. Okay, so what could this rune magic actually do? The sources get super specific here. Number one, he could cloak his presence, letting him slip through the shadows completely unseen. Number two, he could pump energy into these runes for these short, insane bursts of superhuman strength, making him even more of a killing machine. And number three, and this is maybe the scariest part, he could project this wave of pure, supernatural terror, paralyzing his victims with fear before he even laid a claw on them. But look, you can't go on a 25-year-long reign of terror forever, right? Eventually, Stump's crazy world of magic and demons was going to crash head-on with the regular worlds. And that collision, well, it led to his capture. And a confession that nobody could possibly understand. After a quarter-century of this horror, Stump finally slipped up. They organized a huge hunt, cornered the beast, and in the chaos, a hunter manages to slice off its front paw. So what happens the next day?
They find the human Peter Stump with a freshly chopped off hand. The dots were connected, he was caught, brutally tortured, and he confessed to everything.
And this slide right here, this is the whole story in a nutshell. This is the fatal misunderstanding. Under torture, Stump tells them the truth, or at least his truth. He's talking about alchemical serums, carving runes, being a conduit for a demon, but his captors, they're just staring at him. None of this computes. So they translate it, right? They change it into the only story they know. A magic belt, some simple witchcraft, and a deal with the devil.
And in that single moment, that one act of misinterpretation, that's how the story got twisted. That's how this complex alchemical sorcerer gets flattened into a simple monster. It's how the truth died, and the legend we all know was born. You really have to put yourself in their shoes, though. For these 16th century officials, hearing about demonic conduits and alchemical serums, it was basically science fiction. It'd be like one of us trying to explain quantum physics to someone from the Middle Ages. They just didn't have the words or the concepts to get it. So what do you do when you don't understand something? You simplify it. You force it into a box you do understand. And that's exactly what they did. They crammed his wild, alien confession into the same old bedtime story. A magic belt, a deal with the devil. Done. And that simple, gruesome story, that's the one that stuck. Peter Stump's brutal public execution pretty much cemented this version in history forever. He became the ultimate boogeyman, the #1 reason you don't mess around with the devil. But one of our sources leaves us with a much more philosophical, and honestly, a much more chilling final thought. It suggests that he wasn't killed just because of what he did. He was killed because of what he represented. A terrifying kind of freedom. A freedom from all the rules and morality that hold the rest of us in check. And that leaves us with one last, really unsettling question to chew on. Who was the real monster here? Was it the man who embraced the beast inside him? Or was it the world, so terrified of someone who broke all their chains that it had to twist his story into a simple tale of good versus evil before it could destroy him?